Have you ever noticed how a mechanic's own motorcycle always seems to run smoother, pull harder, and sound cleaner than yours even if you ride the same model? It's not an accident. Mechanics quietly do things to their bikes every 3 months that they never mention to customers. They adjust, fine-tune, tighten, clean, and dial in all the tiny details that keep a machine running like new, but they rarely share those steps with the people paying them. And while your bike gets only the basics, theirs gets the real treatment, the behind-the-scenes maintenance they never talk about. Number 1. Adjusting tire pressure. Tires are easily the most overlooked components by riders, yet they influence nearly every aspect of the motorcycle cornering, braking, acceleration, ride comfort, and even fuel efficiency. Mechanics know this, which is why tire pressure is one of the very first things they check, whether you asked for it or not. Quarterly changes in weather alone can throw tire pressure off by several psi. A small drop can make your steering feel heavy or cause the tire to flex too much, generating heat and accelerated wear. Too much pressure, meanwhile, reduces the contact patch, making the bike feel skittish or overly stiff. Mechanics use calibrated gauges to bring pressures back into spec while keeping the type of riding in mind. Some even factor in temperature changes after a ride because warm tires read higher than cold ones. While doing this, they usually inspect for punctures, worn valve stems, or slow leaks. It's a tiny job, but it's one that keeps the bike feeling controlled and consistent every time you ride. Number 2. Lubricating and tensioning the chain. Chain drive systems require constant attention, yet most riders only notice the chain when it's unusually noisy or obviously dirty. Mechanics don't wait for symptoms. Every few months, they check chain slack, look at the adjusters, and inspect sprocket wear. A chain that's too tight puts excessive strain on transmission bearings and can prematurely wear the output shaft. A chain that's too loose can slap, skip teeth, or, in extreme cases, derail. To prevent either scenario, mechanics spin the wheel, check tension at various points, and adjust accordingly to ensure even tension throughout the chain's full rotation. Once the tension is correct, they apply a proper lubricant, not just any spray, but often a brand suited to O-ring or X-ring chains specifically. They wipe away excess grime, look for stiff links, and make sure the sprockets aren't showing the beginnings of a hooked profile. These quiet checks dramatically extend drivetrain life. Number 3. Checking and topping off fluids. Most riders only think about fluids during scheduled service intervals, but motorcycles consume, evaporate, or degrade fluids long before official replacement cycles. Mechanics quietly inspect them every few months to prevent problems before they appear. They'll check oil levels, not just to ensure there's enough, but also to read the oil itself. Darkened oil, metallic shimmer, or thinning consistency tells them about engine health. Coolant levels are checked in the overflow reservoir and sometimes through the radiator cap. Brake fluid is often inspected through translucent reservoirs for color changes that indicate moisture contamination. If something is low, mechanics top it off without turning it into a sales pitch. They know that many bikes risk overheating or brake fade simply because of small drops in fluid level. The goal isn't to alarm the rider, it's to prevent small issues from becoming big ones. Number 4. Inspecting the braking system. Brakes are a rider's lifeline, and mechanics never skip checking them. Even if the pads still have plenty of material, the brake system can reveal subtle issues that affect performance. Quarterly, they look at pad thickness by peering through calipers or removing the wheel. They run their fingers over the rotors to feel for grooves, glazing, or uneven surfaces. They examine caliper pistons to ensure they're moving evenly rather than binding on one side. Sometimes they'll clean the caliper hardware, remove brake dust, or apply a tiny amount of anti-squeal compound behind the pads. They may check brake hoses for swelling or cracks. These steps ensure the brake lever or pedal feel doesn't gradually worsen over time. The goal is simple: smooth, predictable stopping power. Number 5. Conducting a battery health check. Motorcycle batteries often live short, stressed lives. Heat, vibration, and infrequent riding all take their toll. Mechanics measure battery health every few months because they know that a weak battery doesn't always show symptoms until suddenly the bike won't start. A quick voltage reading tells them whether the battery is maintaining charge. They also check how the voltage responds under load, which often reveals early signs of internal failure. If it's low but recoverable, they'll put it on a tender while working on the bike. Corrosion is another silent killer. Mechanics remove oxidation from terminals, tighten the posts, and sometimes apply dielectric grease. These tiny steps keep the electrical system stable. Modern motorcycles with fuel injection, ABS, stability control, and electronic throttles rely heavily on stable voltage, so this quiet maintenance matters more than most riders realize. Number 6. Tightening critical bolts and hardware. Riding causes vibration, and vibration loosens fasteners. Mechanics routinely perform a spanner check, a systematic review of bolts across the bike. They check engine mounts, axle nuts, triple clamps, foot pegs, handlebar clamps, caliper bolts, exhaust brackets, and other structural fasteners. Some bolts require specific torque values, so mechanics may use a torque wrench for critical points. You may never know that a foot peg bolt had started backing out, or that a handlebar clamp was slightly looser than ideal, or that an exhaust hanger had begun to vibrate. You'll simply ride away unaware that potential problems were prevented. Number 7. Adjusting clutch, throttle, and control cables. Cables stretch with use. Clutch engagement points drift. Throttle play increases over time. Riders adapt gradually and often don't notice the deterioration, but mechanics do. During quarterly checks, they fine-tune cable slack, ensuring your clutch engages smoothly and predictably. They test throttle response to verify it snaps back properly and doesn't have excessive play. They might even adjust lever positions, making sure they fit the rider's natural reach and angle. These adjustments transform how the bike feels. A properly tuned clutch reduces hand fatigue, while a tight and responsive throttle improves control. These refinements rarely appear on invoices, but they shape the riding experience more than most people realize. Number 8. Examining the air filter and spark plugs. Engines rely on clean air and a strong spark. Mechanics quietly check these every 3 months because they know how quickly conditions can change depending on the riding environment. If they remove the air filter and find only light dust, they'll blow it clean with compressed air. If it's coated with debris, they'll note that it needs replacing soon. Spark plugs get similar attention. Mechanics may remove 1 or 2 to check for carbon buildup, oil fouling, or improper gaps. A plug's appearance tells a story whether the engine is running rich, burning oil, or misfiring subtly. Mechanics make small corrections or clean the plugs on the spot, returning the engine to smooth operation. Number 9. Test riding and fine-tuning. After the quiet mechanical work is complete, a good mechanic doesn't simply park the bike and hand it back. They test ride it, or at least run it on a stand to evaluate behavior under load. During this test, they listen for knocks, rattles, or intake noises that a stationary inspection can't reveal. They feel the throttle response, clutch engagement, brake feedback, and suspension movement. If something feels off, a slight idle instability, a dragging brake pad, or a suspension imbalance, they address it. This final step is often what makes the bike feel transformed when the rider picks it up. The mechanic has already done the small, invisible corrections, so the rider doesn't have to adapt to imperfections.